Welcome to Lop's Topic Chat. Tonight's topic is cryptozoology. We'll be covering 10 creatures of the weird and unusual, and we'll be going down the list, deciphering whether they could be real or just a legend. Remember, it's truth to every rumor. Now tonight, like I said, we'll be covering 10 creatures. This is your host, Cool and Luke. And my co-host tonight, for the first time ever, is Liberty, the sound man, the production guy. Give a round of applause, please. So I'm going to go down the list real quick, and then I will start the list. We'll save the best for last, which is Bigfoot, the Yeti, Skunk Ape, same category, the Jersey Devil. Flying rods. Yeah, I know, it's not really crypto, though, but we're throwing it in there anyways. Lake monsters, including the Loch Ness Monster, the Sewer Gator, Spring Hill Jack, Thunderbird, Chupacabra, the Mongolian Death Worm, and South American and African dinosaurs. Man, that's full of woo. That's right. As you know, I bring the woo. Tonight's full of woo everywhere. Well, tonight we're going to start with a little creature everybody knows if you're a conspiracy theorist, the Chupacabra, the goat sucker. This creature supposedly is found in Puerto Rico, South America, not South America, but South America, Mexico. It's also been seen in Maine before too, which I found kind of weird. But this creature is the size of a small bear. It's black in color, leathery skin, spikes on its back, and red eyes. And Texas has had many sightings, South America, Mexico especially. And what they find unusual about this creature is that their animals are found dead, sheep, goats, goat sucker, with two little incisions on its neck, and almost all of his blood sucked out. And there's been many first-hand reports of the Chupacabra from people, and they walked outside their house and was staring at him with red eyes, and the report says they can fly. So, I mean, there's enough reports out there. There has to be something to this, in my opinion. I mean, I've seen Lyndon Monhow's reports on the Chupacabra. I've seen supposed pictures of the Chupacabra. Some look good, some look fake as hell, to be honest. But what gets me the most is the evidence, second-hand evidence of the animals, dead, with their blood sucked out. I mean, this is kind of weird creature we've never seen before. Maybe it's an alien being, or maybe it's an alien pet that got loose and it's now stalking Earth, basically. I mean, it's just not one area. I mean, if it's just one area, I'd probably discount it almost, but it's in Puerto Rico, it's in the island nation, it's over in Mexico, it's in South America. Sometimes reported even in Europe, which I found unusual. Yeah, I can fly, supposedly. I mean, I have reports of it flying around. Maybe like a jump fly or something like that. Liberty, you're from the South. You heard of reports of Chupacabra down there in Texas, my friend? And what's your thoughts on this animal? This cryptid.
Howdy, Luke. I appreciate you having me on. This is Liberty. We do have quite a bit of scuttlebutt about Chupacabras, specifically because the Chupacabra is kind of a Mexican superstition, and of course we get much of their culture mixed with ours, being so close to them, being right on their front door. I think many times, though, I think a lot of this has to do with, and I've seen it many times here on lunaticoutpost.com, which is the forum that we are broadcasting from. And if you'd like to join us, feel free to become a member of lunaticoutpost.com, and there's a little link at the top that says chat, and you can click on that. I think you have to have a minimum of 35 or 50 posts, which you could probably put together pretty quickly. And you can come and visit us here and participate in the broadcast if you like. But getting back to what I was talking about, Luke, I think people are misidentifying this many times. I think that we are so far removed from nature now that because of that, we are no longer familiar with some of the animals that we would normally come in contact with. For instance, there was on the Lunatic Outpost forum, there was a thread a while back of some people that said that they had located a Chupacabra, and in fact, it was after some research, after about 4 or 5 pages of people going, "Oh my gosh, what are we going to do? This is creepy. I'm having nightmares tonight." we were able to find a picture of a hairless raccoon, and it was exactly the same identical animal. So these things, I think, are being misidentified a lot of the time, and I think that that's when superstition takes over, which is what many of the some, it depends on your perspective, of course, but fairies and things like that. Many of these are superstitions based on natural occurrences and happenings, or they're supernatural occurrences or paranormal occurrences that are often associated with nature and things like that. So that's kind of my take on the chupacabra specifically. I see some of that here in Texas, and from a local perspective, that would be my response.
Well, a running joke in Mexico too. I saw the Chupacabra last night. LOL. And that kind of stuff. I mean, there might be something to this. They never found a dead body. They claimed they had, but it was found to be fake, whatever. So, a lot of these cryptids, though, let's get to the cryptology. Is basically the search for animals whose existence has not been proven due to the lack of evidence. Like the Chupacabra, like with Bigfoot, which we'll get to later on in the show. I mean, no, it's not Latino in belief. They found reports over in Europe too, and some parts of Asia, of course. There are different variations of it, more or less. Which will lead us to our next cryptid animal, the Jersey Devil. This creature seemed to be found in the 1700s. It's a flying creature, bipeds with hooves and a tail, and it screams at you. If I'm going for a walk in the 1700s, I'm done, feeding my animals, it's midnight, I'm walking back home, and I see some creature fly down and scream at me. I'm going to be scared shitless, though. I'm going to run my house and probably hide or something, or grab my gun, or, it's like, it's bad enough things flying around, it has hoofs on it, and it looks almost demonic, but it screams at you. I mean, you have it all. I mean, like from the worst low-budget B movie, it sounds like. And the Jersey Devil, 1700s, not really any modern-day sightings, really, but I mean, it's popular lore in Jersey and the surrounding area, the Jersey Devil, and there's people get drunk, oh, I saw the Jersey Devil, and you do some history on it, and people back then actually claimed to see this thing. So it's about, 5 foot tall, 6 foot tall, leathery skin, wings like of a bat, more or less, hooves like a horse. I mean, to me, this is one of those cryptids I can write off saying this is probably bullshit. Somebody got drunk back in the day, made some stuff up, or someone got in trouble, some kid got in trouble. I saw the Jersey Devil and try to explain it away, whatever. I mean, there's no proof of this thing whatsoever. So, written reports of in the 1700s and some in the 1800s. I'd be more inclined to believe the Chupacabra than I would the Jersey Devil. But like I said, it's kind of creepy, though. I mean, it's a myth, and this thing screams at you like a banshee almost. Oh, wait a minute, banshee, Jersey Devil. Maybe there's a connection there somehow. What do you think, Liberty, in this cryptid, the Jersey Devil?
Well, I'll be honest, I really had never heard of the Jersey Devil until I started visiting conspiracy theory websites such as this one. Really, the only experience that I've got from it outside of just everything that you've listed off was a movie I think that they had where it was kind of like found footage or something like that, and it seemed interesting. But other than that, that's really my only interaction or understanding of it. And of course, this is going to be Jersey, so it's going to be more localized. So I wish we would have had somebody from the East Coast or something from that area in the chat room that could give us some local insight into this. That would have been excellent. But nope, I don't have much to add on this particular topic, Luke.
I value your experience, so not many people know about cryptids, though, and all your rumors and legends as a kid growing up. I was a Boy Scout, and I heard the legends of the Bigfoot, the Jersey Devil, sewer gators is an ongoing joke, but there's some truth to it. We'll get that later in the show. There's ones I have never heard of before when I did this show. It's the Mongolian death worm, which we'll cover in a little bit. And of course, we all heard of the South American dinosaurs and the Amazon and the Congo. But the next one is an unusual one. It's not really a cryptid, but you can put in the category because it's not really proven, though. And that is the flying rods, as my wife, Anata, will now cover.
Hi, this is Ahanada. Thanks for having me on. The first time I heard about flying rods was back in 2006, and I was on Art Bell forum and GLP forum at the time, and I had seen these pictures of these strange creatures. They were kind of like a squiggly shape, and they would fly around in the sky. They had, I guess, assorted sizes. Some were up to a foot long. Other ones were minuscule, only a couple millimeters long. And what they would do was just dart around, and sometimes they would interact with each other, and nobody could understand what they were. They weren't insects. They weren't, something with your eyes. They were actually a physical being, and you could photograph them. Yes. People just can't figure it out, and to this day, people cannot figure it out.
Well, for the whole flying rod thing, we have a huge atmosphere. We have bacteria and viruses flying around there. Why can't we have another creature, I mean, we have life in the deep oceans, in the vents and stuff. Why can't we have life in the atmosphere? I mean, what exactly is this thing was my question, though. Is it like an insect? Is it some kind of animal? Maybe it's a huge virus or some kind of new creature, though. But, I mean, I've seen the pictures. I've seen the video. There's something to this, obviously. I don't know if nobody's ever captured one before, but there is photographic proof of it, though. As Noel said in Lop Chat, jellyfish of the sky. Yeah, I wouldn't doubt that at all. I mean, what if we went to Jupiter, we see probably these things flying around? Like I said before, I think the universe is full of life. Same with everything else. Look, we find life in microbes and rocks. We find life in the deep ocean. We find life in places we didn't think existed, basically. And Supertramp in our chat room, Lop Chat, Lunatic Outpost, said they found life in the atmosphere. There's tiny amino cells discovered in the stratosphere. That too, though. But this is a different kind of creature, though. I mean, it almost looks like flying bacteria in a way, but the video I seen one time, some lady was talking, and there's like a little rod thing flying up across her, and it's like, what the hell is that? And they zoomed in on it. It wasn't a lens flare. It wasn't a camera problem. There's something to it. And even some scientists say there's something possibly to this. So if there's that out there, who knows what else is out there? I mean, we have the Chupacabra, we have the Jersey Devil, and we have the flying rods. They say we find new creatures in the Amazon and Congo on a weekly basis. Things we have never discovered before. And there's creatures that were once myth, like the Tasmanian devil over in Australia, which we recently found still exists. Only in a limited quantity, basically. So, I mean, who knows what's out there, I mean, if there's weird creatures we don't know about on Earth, who knows what's in space and other planets and other systems. So I know you're not really keen on the subject, Liberty, and don't know much about it, neither do I, but I mean, do you think there's something to this flying rod thing? Do you think a creature could exist that lives in the atmosphere that can fly around like that? That's almost transparent or translucent?
Well, I actually do kind of. I've thought about this a little bit, to be honest with you. It seems similar to me from the pictures and the videos that I've seen, even though these are like very small creatures from what I've been exposed to. They seem to be in kind of the same category as some of the creatures that I've seen from like ISS and space shuttles and space different ships and shit like that. Basically, they're kind of transparent and they move exactly like Nolo was saying. They move exactly like creatures that you would find at like the bottom of the ocean that are also not exposed to hardly any sunlight, or at least not the way our atmosphere filters it into light. So yeah, and if you think about it, forget space. We don't know about 90% of the shit that goes on in the ocean. Yeah, I mean, we think we know all about Earth, but we know very little about it. For instance, one of the creatures, this is, what was his name? Lloyd Pye. I don't know if y'all remember him. He's got some really great videos. I think it's Pye. Look him up. He's unfortunately he's passed over now, but he's with the child, Star Child skull. He had some stuff like that he was into. Anyway, I digress. He was talking about the panda. They had reports of it like early in the 19th century, late 18th century. of a bear, a black and white bear that was a herbivore. Nobody had ever seen it or heard of it. It was just like a rumor or whatever, an urban myth or whatever they had back then. And then somebody got a picture of it, or somebody like important got a sighting of it, and they sent all kinds of safaris off into where this was in Asia to try and track this animal down. And for 40 years they looked for it, and they could not find it. And then somebody found a panda in a trap or something like that, and brought the skin back, and then it became known that there's actually a panda exists. So no, we don't know shit about what's going on in the universe outside of like the very small amount of land that we populate.
I just wanted to expand on that. What Nolo and Liberty were saying, it being possible creatures similar to those seen in space and how they move, and under the ocean and how they moved. This was back, I think it was in 2008 or 9, and I think it's on YouTube. I'll have to find a link for it. But these rods were like absorbing other rods. I don't know if they were eating them or what was going on with them. But it was really interesting. So I'll find that.
Fascinating stuff, which will bring us to our next cryptids, the Loch Ness Monster and lake monsters. I was really surprised about this when I was doing some study on this about the lake monsters. There's Africa, America, Europe, South America. I mean, you have Ogopogo in Canada. You have the Tahoe Tessie, which is in the United States. You have Lake Champion. You have so many reports in Africa. I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, of course, we all heard of the Loch Ness Monster, Nessie. And there's a couple pictures of it. Some people say it's fake. Some people say could be real. I mean, and these lakes, where these reported monsters are at, these lake creatures, Procoplodosaurus, left over from the dinosaur era. I mean, when you have a lake that big, something that big could hide quite easily on it. I mean, it's just not one sighting in one lake over like Loch Ness. There's sightings over in America in almost all the Great Lakes. There's even one over in Salt Lake City. It feels you have a huge alligator. I mean, who knows about that one though? But I mean, what's possible? I mean, left over from the dinosaur era. I mean, what a better way to escape the destruction by a meteorite or a comet than to go deep in the ocean or go deep in the lake, basically, and survive that way. I mean, there's been no real proof. I mean, nothing's ever washed on shore. I mean, to actually prove down, shelled out that these things exist, though. But you have sightings of these kind of creatures every year, in different lakes around the world. And it's the usual thing, head pops out, or just like a long serpent-like object in the water. I've seen some of these photos, and some look pretty good, actually. I mean, some of them look believable. And some look fake as hell, Anyone can fake a monster. Some people tried to fake monsters before. But I mean, to me, when you have this many reports on this many lakes around the world, there has to be something to it, And like Liberty said, we don't know what's on this planet. I mean, we hardly ever explored the Amazon. I mean, we've hardly explored many things in this world at all. I mean, we're discovering new creatures all the time, And as far as the oceans go and the waters, we only discovered like 10% of that, basically. I mean, we've been in the deep ocean only a few times. We don't know what's really down there. I mean, we discovered some fascinating creatures down there as of late by thermal vents. Places where life should not exist, but it does exist, though. And I've seen some of these deep-sea creatures, though, they show and they're freaky. Some out of a nightmare or a horror movie, basically. So, Liberty, I mean, you've heard stories as a kid and growing up about, lake monsters. Maybe it's lake monsters near you, but I've heard stories. I've seen pictures. I've seen videotapes. I mean, it's kind of believable. I mean, I wish there was a body that washed on shore, but there's not, though. I think it could be a plesiosaur or some kind of creature we haven't even identified yet. What do you think, Liberty, on these lake monsters and the Loch Ness Monster?
Well, I'm not sure if I necessarily believe specifically the Loch Ness Monster. I think it's totally plausible, going back like to the statement I had before, we don't really know what's going on, and I think we're going to be seeing a lot more of creatures that we didn't know existed or that we thought were had gone extinct or whatever, but still existed in places, especially in like underwater, and especially in like enormously deep places, which that's I think something that's interesting about the loch is that there's like a really deep channel in the middle of it. And they've I've seen a ton of shows about it where they've showed like in the past where there was a waterway that the dinosaur could have possibly gotten trapped in this little loch before the water all like disappeared or became ice or whatever. I don't have anything specifically local that's like a water monster, and I'm not really familiar with anything USA-wise as far as like creatures in the water. But I know I get scared as shit when I go swimming in a lake and I can't see the bottom of it, so there's no telling. I got a personal story, but it's not necessarily the same caliber of beast, but I used to, as a kid, I used to go and collect golf balls out of this lake on the golf ball course, and I went down with a mask on and some fins and stuff, and I'm kicking around, and I'm like maybe 11 or 12, and kicking up a bunch of soot, and like a fish ran right in between my eyes into my mask and was like sucking on water, and I was like, ah! Like air bubbles, everywhere with little screams in them coming out of my face, and rolled up on shore, threw all my shit off, and I was like, I'm done with this. So that's my only personal experience that I've come into contact with any beasts underwater. But it's a common fear because it's this you can't see underneath there, and I think it's almost like psychological, where we would either have this fear of the unknown so great that we would imagine that there are enormous creatures down there, or that like subconsciously we could almost like look at that metaphorically as like, we're only conscious of so much, but we know that there's this other voice lurking around in our head. We would probably project some kind of thing like that on it. So there's all kinds of reasons to be scared, and there's even scientific facts that it could be something really real underneath there. So I think the judge is out, or the jury's out on that right now. I think we've got the technology to figure out if Nessie is there, but I mean, do we really even want to know at this point? Because that kind of blows the allure of, reality out of the water.
Funny you say that, because they did sonar checks on that lake a couple years ago, and they found something big down there. They didn't know what it was, though. But it was only for like a little blip for a small amount of time, and then disappeared. They had 3 ships on the lake, on the Loch Ness, whatever, and they scanned the whole lake, and they discovered a little blip, though, an unusual blip, and suddenly it was gone. So I think out of all the cryptids so far, this is probably the most believable one, to be honest. Now, the next one is the woo segment, of course. This is the most unbelievable one of all. So, as you all know, my name is CHL. I bring you the woo tonight. Tonight's woo is a sewer gator. Sorry. But we've heard stories about the sewer gators, Little Jimmy had a pet gator from Florida. It got to be too big, so he flushed down the toilet. And now, years later, someone's walking down the sewer in New York when the sanitation workers see something crawling on the ground, and oh my God, it's a gator, and he runs for his life, and it's just not 1 or 2 reports, just a couple reports in the various sewer systems up north, usually in New York, or I think even one time in Chicago. I think I read something about I don't know. It could survive in the sewer because it's warmer down there. It can survive the freezing temperatures, though, and they've done. Some scientists decided to hypothesize that it could happen, but I think it's a tale, to be honest. Some guy was down in the subway or the sewer system, drunk from a bar, and probably saw a rat and thought it was bigger than what it was, and it's a gator, man. What would a gator eat down there? Not the rats, people, bums. Bums, yeah. No. You never know. I was in Florida visiting my brother on vacation, and I actually saw a gator. I mean, went to this one park where it's known to have a gator, and this thing was freaking huge, man. And so my brother's like, let's get close to it. Like, let's not, man, because they're pretty fast. And we got a little closer to it. We were both stupid, obviously, and it popped its head out of the water, looked at us, and swam away, thank God. No, gators aren't picky at all. I mean, they're pretty fast, too. They say if one's chasing you, you're supposed to run in a zigzag line to get away from it, because if you run in a straight line, it could possibly catch you. But most of the time they avoid humans. They usually go for the cats or the dogs. Or now Supertramp goes, we have wallabies near where I'm in the UK. They're trying to collect exotics, and plenty of them escaped or were intentionally released. Wallabies, wildcats, birds, etc. And there's another cryptid we were not covering tonight. It's the wild cats. We find wild cats in unusual places where somebody had a, cat they weren't supposed to have, a bobcat, tomcat, or even like maybe a leopard or a panther, and it got loose. And you hear that all the time, we call them ghost cats, they're not supposed to be there, but people see them anyways. Wherever he goes, run a straight line to your shotgun. Yeah, but I have a hard time believing this cryptid report about sewer gators. I mean, it could be possible. I don't know. I mean, you think if you flush a gator down the toilet or whatever, or released them, they were so small, something else would attack it or get to it or would die off because of the temperatures. So, Liberty, I hate to ask you this question, though, but I'm pretty sure I know what it is, but what's your opinion on the sewer gator?
Well, I don't know much about the sewer gator topic. I think I heard a little bit about it when I was growing up, but I seem to remember it always being associated with them being the white alligators, the albino alligators with red eyes, and I'm not sure. I guess for some reason we associated it with them being in the sewers. Like, of course, we don't have like the kind of sewer systems that they have in New York or the subway systems where I'm located. But I think, of course, it's possible. I mean, they could live off of just fecal matter. I know that's disgusting, but there's an overwhelming amount of it, and I've seen other animals eat poo before. So, if you're absolutely bumming and you live in the sewer and you're a big ass alligator, yeah, you could do that. I mean, there's got to be an abundance of sewer rats down there to munch on. So I mean, give life away, and and it'll take it. And I think people do flush. I think it was associated with like people having like little alligators that they got from like a circus or something like that, and it got flushed down the toilet, and that this thing grew. I mean, there might even be a movie about that. I remember Chud, the cannibalistic humanoid underground dwellers, certainly sent a shock of fear through my generation when it came out. So yeah, anything dwelling in the sewer, nope, none for me. Shotgun, where's it at?
I mean, to our next cryptid, which I've even never heard of before. I mean, I've heard of like tremors and the worms and stuff. I thought nothing of it. I thought it was just bullshit. But obviously, there's a cryptid over there in the Mongolian desert, the Gobi Desert. It's called the Mongolian death worm. It's a red worm, about 2 to 5 feet long. And get this stuff, Liberty, it fully sprays acid at you. It sprays acid, and also some reports it has electrical discharge, too. I mean, a little far-fetched there, though, but I mean, if you talk to the locals there in Gobi, they believe this thing. They've seen it before, they have tales from generations before that these worms exist. And you're supposed to stay away from them because they spray acid at you, or they have electrical discharge, like electrical eel, kind of. And they burrow in the desert, and they pop their heads out and supposedly attack small animals and humans. And Scarlett has a comment on this subject. Go ahead, Scarlett.
Well, I looked it up and it tickled me because it was the first stories about it were written by Roy Chapman Andrews, who was the dinosaur hunter in the Gobi Desert. So I found that fascinating. But what he did say was all of the locals totally believed that it existed, and they claimed it only came up to the ground 2 months out of the year. I think July and August, or June and July. And that was the only time you'd ever encounter them. Otherwise, they were very deep underground dwellers. I would have thought it was all nonsense until I read the description of it. And it says they have no faces or eyes. They look like a piece of intestine. They look like a sea bloodworm. And that's what got my interest, because I used to sell these things as fish bait. And they do look like a piece of raw intestine. And they can zap you. And I got to thinking about it, and the Mongolian deathworm is supposed to have an electrical attack. That's not so far-fetched. That happens under the sea. There are several. I mean, the eels come to mind right away. And the fact that it spits acid at you, these things dissolve rock and get their nutrients from it. So I imagine their stomach acid is pretty fierce, and I bet they can spit it as an attack. So it's really far-fetched. You'd have to postulate that they got trapped in the land somehow and adapted and survived. But I think I think it's remotely possible because of where they live. And, just like, it's not as strange as you think when you look at them.
No, I have to say that it seems like a high-level boss in a video game. Next up, the boss, the Mongolian deathworm. Not only does it spit acid at you, it also has electrical discharge. Make sure you have your armor on a +5 and your frost sword with you. This thing's kind of terrifying, actually. Yeah, wifey. Okay, whatever. But not only do you have a big worm, but I don't care for worms too much. I like to fish with them and catch fish with them, but I have no use for worms whatsoever. They're creepy looking. I would deal with spiders, to be honest. But this thing's just badass, though, man. Not only can it spit acid at you, it can zap your ass too. Shit, Liberty. You need a gun or something. You need a grenade for this son of a bitch. What do you think, man? From what Scarlett said, this thing could be real, though. It's just scary what it can do, though.
Yeah, a couple things came to mind. I'll tell you the first thing that came to mind is I thought you said it sprays ass, and I was like, if a fucking worm comes out of the ground and it sprays ass at me, that's it. I don't know how they haven't conquered the earth already. But then acid, and that's even that much worse, and basically the same thing. But that made me think if they use the stomach acid to melt rocks and get the nutrients in much the same way that like we use our stomach acids to digest foods and things, then before we had like industry and like oil rigs, drilling grounds and derricks and stuff like that, probably if you were based off the land, like, the older tribes and native peoples are Aboriginal peoples and shit, probably if you looked at nature as a way to how to dig holes efficiently, you would probably go, well, you use stomach acids. And if you take a look at some of the architecture in South America, they've got, and in other places, they've got rocks where we don't know how they dug them. Like, it's not clear at all. Like, it had that, like, even technicians today are like, we don't know how they got this exact, how the rocks look this smooth or anything, because we don't have this technology. And this could be like a lost technology of where they discovered these worms, figured out how they did it, either got the same stomach acids or figured out how to recreate it naturally, and, began to use this to create stuff with it. It seems possible. So, yeah. And absolutely, in like weird places under the earth where you would be around, like, probably the only like reactions you would be familiar with would be some kind of chemical reactions. Like, you're not going to start a fire to burn something down if you live underneath the ground and all that. So yeah, I think that's interesting. I think it's possible. It made me think of Dune too, so we might have some collective memory of worm hunting or some shit that's in the back of our minds, and that's where that movie Tremors, somebody, I think it was Supertramp, that mentioned that's what the movie was based on. Tremors was these types of worms. And if you think about where it comes from, this Mongolia, this is the harshest environment that you can think of, because this is like where, the steppes, this is where like the toughest sumbitches that were ever built on Earth came from. Like, these are the ones that beat up Spartans and shit. Like, these are some bad dudes, and they're all on horses, and really, they are tough because of that tough area. I would expect some of the creatures around there to have to, evolve or die because it's such a harsh environment. So yeah, I would see some really strange shit coming out of there. This could definitely be something that's real. So yeah, I think it's possible, Luke.
So far, we have 2 real ones out of all the things we had so far. The lake monsters, and now the Mongolian deathworm. I mean, Chupacabra, maybe. But man, I'd rather face a scorpion or a freaking diamondback than face a Mongolian deathworm. Wow. Next up is something my friend Supertramp would recognize. The spring-heeled jack. This thing's just fucking weird. Excuse my language, but clawed hands, red eyes, and emits a blue or white flame out of its mouth. It was seen in the 1800s and 1900s. More than anything, I don't know. Maybe it's a spirit of some kind, but I mean, what creature breathes fire? It's supposed to be, scientific terms, fucking weird. Yes, that's right. Not only do I bring the woo, but I also bring some slang too. I apologize. This thing just creeps me out, to be honest. Like the Mothman, this thing just puts a chill down my spine. This thing hops around houses. It can leap in the air like 10, 20 feet. It looks humanoid. People back then said it spoke perfect English too. It's like, I hate to say it, man. This sounds like a demon, though. You have something that's clawed hands. Clawed hands, red eyes. It's red eyes again, like the Mothman. Common theme here. It sounds almost like the Mothman, to be honest, in some ways. Maybe it's in the same family, same category. The Bell Witch. Yeah, I've heard of the Bell Witch. That's another creepy one, too. I plan on doing a show on in the future. The Bell Witch is creepy, and there's something to it, too, obviously. I mean, let's face it, man. We don't know everything there is about the oceans and the worlds and the planets, and we don't know anything about the spirit world either, the astral realm, no matter how you want to say it. Who knows what exists? The thing is, though, why would the spring-heeled jack be over in England? I mean, there's some reports over in the United States, but it's rare, though. And this thing would scare people, too. I mean, it wasn't saying, hi, hello, how you doing, what's up? It was scaring people. I mean, you go outside and you want some jumping from roof to roof. It happened over roughly 100 years. I mean, there's not many reports these days about it. Supertramp and Lopchats that traveled something like 90 miles in a straight line over everything in its way and left only one pair of footprints, so definitely not human footprints in the snow. Now, this thing's not human at all. I mean, I don't see any human can jump from roof to roof, basically, 10 to 20 feet in the air. Even the Olympians can't do that. And you see this type of creature throughout the world under different names. I mean, you have the Mothman over in America, which is, we had a whole show on, which me and my wife, Spirit Realm. And it only happened for like 100 years, and it went away, supposedly. So what brought this on, I wonder? I mean, to me, it's just puzzling and scary at the same time, some of the stuff that's out there. It could be out there. Is it real? People claim it was real. Some people claim it was a hoax, but what do you know that can jump from roof to roof like that? Liberty, do you know anything like that?
Things that can jump from the roof, ninjas. Things that breathe fire, dragons. So this is a ninja dragon, is what I'm going to call it. And I know I've not heard anything about it in the past. Sounds scary as hell. So I definitely would not want to bump into it in a dark alley or anything like that. But no, this is another one of those.
And right now we'll give a little short break as I confer with my co-host.